In a small town on the coast of Scotland, a town I shall not name for fear of discovery, there is an ancient and wondrous secret. It is a town of cracks and cobbles, of tales and yarn, spun in the salt of the sea, of whiffs and laughs and the curlew's cry and the hawks of the seagulls twisted merrily in its froth. It is a place of whip and whistle, of wind and rain, where the sun is beaming, but the air is chill, and the sky gray and white, blue in a summer's color that never quite comes, bright and dull and wild all at once. A quiet town in a mad land. Fish crash themselves into a flurry in horse-capped waves, and pebbles strew the sand. Cliffs loom, crags tower, legends topple, legends rise. The lifeblood of the sea creeps into the island and swarms its earth and cries out with longing, and is sated and returns again and again. The island breathes and plunders, the ocean cries and canters, gambolling its way along the shore. The coast waits and whispers and roars, and in its flurry, in its madness, at the heart of the myths and stories, lies a hidden wonder. In the heart of this town, amidst the quiet streets, runs a boy. He is unremarkable. His hair is mousy and his eyes gray. He shouts and whispers and feels so intensely he wonders if he will not one day break. He is unremarkable. He hops and skips and clatters along the shore, makes his way to the heart of the town, throws off his school things and races out, away from home. And along the shore, in a pool carved from concrete, a relic of the Second World War, is something amazing. Beneath the rainwater pooling in the trough, beneath the spit and fleck of sand, lies a brief golden wave. It is seen in the flicker of sunlight, in the moonlight, and in the light of the beaming stars. It is best seen from the corner of an eye, for a direct gaze makes it shy, and caution makes it bold. Few have seen it, and many would refuse to believe it. But the boy knows well the angel on the shore. He would make his way down to the pool and sit watching the waves, stopping occasionally to run or shriek with the birds. He wondered of the legends told of the place. Few people knew of the angel. Those who did described a band of gold, a tear in their eye, a swelling in their chest of the most beautiful something, a joy, the truest feeling they knew, more than they knew, erasing all sorrow, light passing over them in a pure blessing. The boy waited and waited and was patient. And one day, he saw the flickering gold. He carried the secret in his heart with joy. He felt it at the back of his mind while he ran. It lay snug in his heart while he slept. He visited again and again, and he did not see it flicker, but that was all right because he knew it was there. He felt it there, even when he did not see it. He wondered if he should drink the water, but in the end decided not to. It was tinged with green, and the pool did not look clean. But this was all right. He knew. The boy visited the angel each day, and one day there was another person there. A councilman wandered the pool, and hummed and hawed, spoke of things like health and safety. Soon another joined him and argued back about historical relevance in the story of the war. The boy sat in silence beside the pool and listened. A timbre of change hung in the air. He felt afraid. In his heart, the secret held him. More people began to visit the site. They discussed the preservation of history versus health and safety, and the worry that one day somebody might fall into the pool and become stuck. They discussed destroying the pool, citing a safety hazard. They argued, and still, the angel was quiet. Every day, before the sky darkened and he knew he had to be home so his parents wouldn't worry, the boy sat hidden in the bushes nearby and went to the pool when the councilman had gone. But try as he might, he couldn't seem to rouse the angel. There was not a flicker nor a sign. They appeared to be waiting. But in the boy's heart, the secret fretted and circled, anxious about the future. The boy dreamed. In his slumber, the angel sang to him. In his dreams, he walked to the beach and stared into the pool. Here, the angel saw him. A band of gold rippled across the surface of the water and sang a gentle song and filled his heart with joy. He felt peace, and a great love surrounded him. He was not left wanting. He began to understand the angel. They spoke to him in feelings rather than words, showed him another world. A gentle world, but not so different. His own world, he realized one night. The world was his own, but it was better. It was soft and kind, and hardships were gotten through, not gotten over, with kindness and strength. And all life was given value. In this world, all who wanted to live, lived. People knew goodness, and knew, as we should but don't, all would come back together again. The angels sang that they wanted to live, but wished they would not leave their home. He dreamed and dreamed of this world made gentler by kindness. In his sleep, the angels sang to him, and every day he could, he went to visit the pool. The boy's teachers and friends and family remarked how he had grown in empathy. He simply smiled. They did not know. The boy wrote letters to the council, asking them not to destroy the pool. He spoke from the point of historical preservation and did not mention the angel. He wanted to be taken seriously. The angel was not offended. They understood. And one day he sat at school, listening to his teacher discuss the nature of legal agreements. He paid attention, for he thought this might help him. But soon enough, the lesson was distracted by another student posing an interesting question, and they moved on from strict legal agreements to more abstract bargaining and the nature of payment, and the nature of sacrifice. The boy pricked up his ears. Sacrifice. There were people in history, he knew, who used to eat horses, for they believed that by eating the horse he would gain their strength. The boy knew this was no longer believed, but it sparked an idea in him that would not let go. A sacrifice. A willing sacrifice. Barter and trade. If one thing could be given for another and an agreement was made... A quiet fear prickled at the back of his brain, but he tried to ignore it. If this could save the angel, then it had to be worth a try. He mentioned this in his prayers before he slept, asking all the ways he could sacrifice something and giving examples of all kinds of offerings: time, treasure, service, all the while knowing a sacrifice so important could be one thing only, yet unwilling to admit to himself what that was. So he asked in his prayers for courage, and the secret in his heart seemed to reach out and embrace him. So when he fell asleep, he was warm. He woke early, knowing what he had to do. The boy slipped from his bed and into his shoes, pulled on a jumper to guard against the chill, and walked quietly from his room. He said a quick prayer for his parents, then stole into their room and kissed them both very softly. They did not stir. He crept down the stairs. He left the sleeping house. Outside, it was cold, and the sun was just rising. He knew he must hurry. He walked briskly, too nervous both to walk slowly and to run. He wanted to shout, but could not afford to wake the sleeping town, and, besides, his throat would not let him speak. He was afraid, but this was all right. He was sure. This was all right. He became sure as he reached the pool, for he saw a council car parked atop the slope leading down to the beach, and a great trepidation seized him. He ran. When he reached the pool, there was no one there, but he could see people in the car. He climbed to the concrete lip and leaned in. The water rippled. It was deep and almost clear. He could see nothing down there. For a moment, he faltered. Then, as though a great effort had been expended, a flash of golden light burst suddenly in the water, and the secret in his heart thudded hard. You or I might find what happened next illogical. In order to prove a structure is safe, it would seem counterintuitive to hurt yourself on it. If you wanted to protect something from being destroyed and you had no way to explain the truth lest you not be taken seriously, you would do your best to make it seem safe. He would not pull a dangerous stunt. And the boy considered this for a moment. He thought of his parents. He thought of his home. He thought of the streets he thudded up and down every day, of the crashing waves, the sandy shore, of the school building and the sky that seemed to go on forever. He almost faltered. But then the car door opened, and a councilman stepped out and shouted for him to get away from there. It was dangerous. And this startled the boy. He jumped. The water took him without so much as a splash, and he found he was not afraid. It was cold. It wrapped itself around his chest and stopped his breath, curled icy fingers into his skin and pushed into his lungs. It filled him so easily that there was no time to fight, and he felt his back pressed heavy against the cold stone bottom of the pool. Somewhere in the back of his mind, he was aware of a commotion, urgent footsteps, voices raised in alarm, but he could not bring himself to mind. All that there was here. All that mattered was the water in his chest and the secret in his heart. And somewhere, anywhere, The angel would be safe, he knew, if they would just appear. If he could just show them the sacrifice was made and the world could be all right, then everything would be fine. The angel would live, and the world would carry on to how it was supposed to be. Kinder, softer, gentler. If only, the boy thought, tears useless in the water, if only the angel would just come. The voices outside grew louder. The boy begged for sunlight. And then, a voice grew in his head. A voice like music. Thin, light, stronger than water. He felt it slide through him, calling down every bone and vein until it twisted around and found his heart. The secret leapt and skittered within him, and jumped for joy, and thumped and thudded, and he knew in that moment it was true. The song was real. The angel was true, and he would be all right. The music consumed him. The sound touched the secret, and sent a shock through him like electricity. They clung together, embraced in the beating heart, two halves of a whole made one again. His body shook. A flicker in the corner of his eye caught his attention. He stared. A thick band of gold approached him, and, as the song got louder and his heart swelled full, it passed over his eyes like a skipping rope, slowly, beautifully, and he could not hear anything but his heartbeat and the music, and his heart felt as though it would burst. He trembled and shook from the inside out, gasped and shivered, his throat contracted. He sobbed and sobbed with pure and savage joy. He was held at the point of truth, and the angel had him by the heart and would not let go. And he would have jumped in that pool 1,000 times over if only he could have stayed there forever, laughing, crying, joyous and hopeful, and validated in a messy, pure shamble of glory. The world was in safe hands, and it would thrive forever. Forever. Time slowed around him, and the music became words, in a voice he understood in meaning, and answered in his head.
You have come to save me.
Yes, he answered in his head.
You gave yourself for me.
Yes.
Why?
He had never considered why. I had to. The world you showed me was kinder, and they would have destroyed your home. If you had no home, where would you go? I don't know about angels.
You do. Far more than you know.
If you showed me a better world, it means you can make it. I can't. And I thought maybe if there was a sacrifice, the balance would right itself.
And I would live if you died.
Yes.
Weren't you afraid?
Yeah, at first.
And your parents? Your friends?
We'll see them again.
You didn't hesitate. It was very brave.
It wasn't bravery. He scared me. I jumped out of fear, really.
Still, there was heart there. But you were not going to die today.
I'm not?
Oh, darling. Did you really think I would take your whole life? You are so young. You have so much more to do.
But I thought I was dead already.
No. You gave me a great gift. I will return it.
But won't you die?
If they take my home, maybe. I will drift, and who knows where I will end. Unless...
I wanted to save you.
You will.
How?
I will not take your life. No harm will come to you. But I must ask you a favor.
Yes.
Carry a part of me with you. Help me live. Carry me in the place you carry all your loved ones. Keep me safe in your heart.
How will you fit? The angel laughed, a sweet sound.
You are not the only one to see me, you know. But only you visit every day. I will go to others. I cannot fit in only one heart. But yours is big enough for a journey, and you will keep a part of me.
And you'll live, and I'll live, and the world will be better, and things will be good, and kindness will last forever?
Yes.
Yes.
Will you carry me?
There were tears, but the water took them. Of course I will. And the golden band grew brighter and brighter, and came closer and closer. Brighter and closer, and the boy lay suspended in the pool, skin pale as china, hair ghost-like in the water, knowing nothing but the gold and the song and the sudden pressure in his chest, so intense he cried out in the silence. And his heart thumped and swelled, and the gold shone inside him, and there was a moment of the most agonizing pain, exquisite relief, and an awareness of something else. Something else beside the secret, curled up safe and wonderful inside him, saved, strong, good. The sacrifice had worked. The angel lived. And he... A voice trembled within him.
Thank you.
And then he was above the water, rough hands dragging him over the edge and slapping his back. The boy heaved. He tried to tell the assailants to keep off his chest, that it was too full for such treatment, but all that came out was water. He coughed violently. The hands released him and he was on his knees, spluttering into the dirt. He was freezing. His clothes were saturated. He looked like a wet spaniel. He stared at his assailant, the councilman. The boy tried to explain, but he found he could manage nothing. The councilman shouted to another further along, and the boy waited, feeling his heartbeat, unable to stand until an ambulance came. Later, in his bed, he lay awake. He was dry and warm. Books read, prayers said, cocoa drank, blankets tight, and parents nearby. He stared out the window and felt his heart beat calmly, thinking of the day past. The councilman had said they had found him at the top of the pool. This was odd. He was sure he had laid at the bottom and pressed against the side, but they maintained he had been floating at the top, face up, but fully submerged and still. His limbs had been heavy, his lungs full. He knew there was no way he had swum to the top himself. Then again, he had had some help. After a heartfelt plea to the councilman, which they may or may not have entirely understood, and an equally rambling appeal to his parents, it was decided that the pool would be preserved for historical reasons, but drained and covered over completely so no one could fall in and be trapped, especially children and animals. The boy hoped this was an acceptable conclusion. The councilmen were good people, he knew. They had saved him and looked after him and told him funny stories to cheer him up. They just hadn't known about the angel, and probably wouldn't have believed him if he tried to explain. The angel was silent. Perhaps they were sleeping. The boy was certainly exhausted enough. It stood to reason the angel might be too. His parents had scolded him, and then hugged him and cried, and the boy pretended it had been an accident, for he loved them and wanted to spare them. He had told them before about the angel, but had not mentioned the sacrifice, and did not intend to. He did suggest the angel helped to save him. He thanked the councilman and kept the rest quiet. And now he lay in bed, staring at the stars in the blanket sky, slowly letting sleep take him. His heartbeat slowed. His eyes closed. His breathing grew steady. And, in a half-dream, a pulse of light burned in his chest, spread its warmth through his veins and leapt out, strings of gold streaking through the window into the world beyond. He felt two coral round the corner into his parents' room, flew over the hills and away, shone through the town, bursting with freedom, to find homes. The boy knew they would first find the others, who had seen the angel too. Then they would go everywhere and make themselves at home in the hearts of all who lived, in animals, plants, and every natural kingdom, and be free at last to help them change the world, to make it kinder, gentler, sweeter than it was, like he had seen that first time in his dream. And the boy smiled as he slept, and then frowned and touched his heart, where the secret still lived, with perhaps a sliver of angel, and thought, "Not all of you?" And, like a whisper,
"Not all of me."
And he smiled once more, and let sleep take him. And the angel slept within him, full of love, full of kindness, full of joy.
A huge thank you to all my poltergeists: Stephen Swiftbird, Shadow Blackhawk, Spirit Father, King Gallant, JTX31, Joker Smurf 3, Daniel O'Connell, Gary, Forever, Nathan Konirk, John, Twisted Skipster, Mark Zaban, and Benjamin Kroon. Your donations are much appreciated, so thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Ignore whatever is clawing at the door. It will start gibbering and half-pounding and clawing on the outside wall. It will sound like a fox and a woman screaming together. It will circle the church again and again, occasionally moving away to the edge of town to wail and sob. Just try to get some sleep. Ignore it. There is nothing you can do besides not let it in. Never let it in.